So basically how Han ended up in Fast and Furious was, it was Justin Lin. You know, he had the opportunity to go direct Tokyo Drift, and he had called a few of the actors from Better Luck Tomorrow just to have lunch. And, you know, he explained to us, he's like, hey, you know, I understand how rare these opportunities come. You know, there are very few roles for you out there. And I just wanted to tell you, you know, I'm directing this big Fast and Furious movie for Universal, but none of you are gonna be cast in the film because none of you fit, right? And because at that time there was no Han in the film, right? And there was a smaller character in the original script that had a quick scene with Sean Boswell. He gives him the keys, and I think his name was Phoenix. And at that time, you know, the idea was to cast an African-American like hip-hop star, you know, some musician to do a cameo for that. But Bow was already cast, and you know, Justin had this conversation with the studio saying, you know, well, why is it that with this other character, you know, why does he have to be like Asian specific? Why can't he just be a guy that represents something? And I think they asked like, what? Like, what does he represent? You know, somebody cool, somebody inclusive, somebody you want to hang out with. And Justin showed Better Luck Tomorrow to everybody, and they understood what he was talking about. And the rest was history. You know, Han was barely in the script. It was me and Justin, you know, every day kind of, you know, going over, you know, his character arc and him finding places to kind of put him into the story. And, you know, I was walking around with a bunch of snacks because, you know, I did not want to carry the smoking habit from Better Luck Tomorrow into a Fast and Furious movie because I knew how many kids were going to watch this film. And I know, you know, if you see somebody up there looking cool, smoking cigarettes, you know, you are gonna probably, you know, mimic that, you know, especially as a young person. And so I watched some films like Magnificent Seven with Steve McQueen and Brad Pitt from Snatch, and I noticed they were always eating, and I was like, oh, that's just a great kind of, you know, character kind of, you know, like habit for me because I'm always observing. You know, I had very few lines that I was actually saying. And so, you know, when you're watching something, watching a movie, you're snacking. And so that's where the whole snacking thing kind of came. And I remember I had this bag, big old family pack of snacks I was carrying around on set every day. And I remember one of the producers grabbed the snacks and was like, what's with you and the snacks? And then when the movie came out, he goes, oh, okay, now I understand what you were doing.
Are you ready? He's got his own private army. We need help.
Bring what you got. Bring what you got. Bring what you got.
No way.
Is you ready? Oh, whole squad ready.
So how do y'all want to play this?
Fast.
So when I started in Better Luck Tomorrow with Han, you know, the idea of playing a California, you know, Southern Cali Asian American guy was so, you know, unfamiliar to me because, you know, the guys in LA or Southern Cali, they just have a different swagger about them. You know, they have a different cadence compared to the way I grew up. I grew up in, you know, the South in Georgia, so, you know, it was a smaller community, you know, it was much more conservative. And, you know, the guys out there, we just didn't have the same, you know, swagger or cadence about us. And I had to go and hang out with some LA-born or, you know, Southern Cali, like, you know, dudes out here to figure out where they get their chip on their shoulders, because there is a kind of a bravado about them. There's this like hyper-masculine kind of, you know, tough guy persona, and they don't see themselves as like a, you know, marginalized like community. You know, they see themselves as an alpha, and that was really intriguing, you know, as an actor to go, you know, where do you get this confidence and where do you get this swagger? And, you know, working with Justin, I used the comparison of a NBA basketball coach. You know, he has his plan of attack, but he knows where your strengths or weaknesses are, and then he comes in and he helps you with that, right? And we were able to really kind of dissect what Han was about, that, you know, he's a little different from the other kids, you know, within the Better Luck Tomorrow movie, because he's probably, you know, more from a blue-collar background, and the reason he even has that 65 Mustang is, you know, his father was, you know, is probably a mechanic, you know, in K-Town or some, you know, part of LA, you know, and that's where, you know, Han learned his love affair for cars, right? That's where he learned his way around, under the hood. But then, it was that swagger, it was that confidence. It's like even the question of like, why did this guy smoke so much? Because I wasn't a smoker, at that time, and I was like, what are these guys always smoking? They always look so pensive, So, you hang out. It was a great opportunity to kind of get in the skin of these guys in LA and play like a hypermasculine dude.
Woke to wake up. Whoa. Get back, came front. Get everything we gave up. Even when we die, we raise up. Yeah!
It's good to be back.
Well, the first time I found out or was aware of the hashtag Justice for Han was from Jen Yamato, currently at the LA Times. I didn't know her at the time. I think we ran into each other a few times at some events, but I didn't know her, and so there was no personal connection. So I knew she wasn't trying to help a friend out, or it had nothing to do with being biased towards me. And I was like, who is this person? Is she just like a fangirl, like freaking out? But there was like reason behind it, because something was unsettling, in her stomach about the demise or the exit of Han from this massive franchise. And that's a different conversation, but there was sincerity in what she was doing. It wasn't just like a crazy fan. And so it made me go into this rabbit hole and, go and reach out to her and to kind of really study like where and why is this coming from. And it's really humbling. It's humbling when people want you back and they're excited to see you, and they mention your name. And, as an actor, it's super flattering. It's like it legitimizes your existence, and I have to go back and I have to thank Jen and I have to thank all the fans for really pushing that hashtag, because I think that's the majority of the major reason why Han is back.
We got the product, we got the tools. We supposed to stop that? Hold on! We going wild, we on the loose. People is blind, we are the truth.
Yes!
When you first get recognized in public for playing a role, it's a little jarring and it becomes about self. It's like, hey, I'm special now. Like everybody wants my picture and they want to invite me to their parties. And then you step back and you go, well, what does it all mean? It's like after the party's over and then so what, And there was a time where I started kind of questioning the whole idea of being famous for one character. And I was like, what's the point of that? I don't think I want to be that. And I knew the impact of Han and Fast and Furious when this situation happened. I'd gone back home to Georgia to go see some relatives, and we went fishing. All right, and we were driving through Alabama and to go to Florida. And I was with two cousins, two guys, and a friend. So there were like four Asian dudes in this truck driving through Alabama to go to Florida. And one of the cousins is a little paranoid, and he said, hey, I know you got a mouth on you, and don't stop at this gas station and talk a whole bunch of nonsense to people, especially if someone says something to you that's derogatory here, because, hey, we are in the deep south. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then we get out, and I go into the gas station, and there's a young man there, and he's kind of talking to a couple of customers, and I'm a little pensive there, and I'm a little concerned, like what this guy's gonna say or what energy he's gonna project. And he looks up, and his eyes kind of bulge, and he goes, oh my God, it's Han! It's Han! He goes, wait right here. And he starts to call his mom. He's like, Mama, Han's here. He's like, who? Han! Han from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. He's here! He's here! And never did he mention, it's the Asian guy, or it's the Oriental guy, it's the Chinese guy. It's Han! It's Han! It's my friend Han! And my cousins are like freaking out. They're like, they had never witnessed that. And I was going, whoa, there's nothing confrontational here. There's nothing negative. There's nothing divisive. It was a guy who felt like he grew up with me, right? A guy that wanted to invite me into his garage and show me his car and crack open the beer and share his story, right? And that's when I realized, man, this is way bigger than me, right? And then to see the reactions of my family members and my cousins in the car, driving, they were like, hey, we never thought, you being an actor was gonna impact the world this way, because, we grew up being bullied, it's just the way it was, because we were a bunch of nobodies in this small town, so we were used to that. We're being used to being marginalized and never having a voice. And for my cousins to say that, to go, a character that you play in the Fast and Furious movie, in their words, is it's gotten rid of racism to a degree. Within this filler station, there's no racism, and everyone was just smiling on their way to Florida, you know. And I hope that it kind of explains what Han means to me, right? And how I see it transcending throughout the world, and especially today with all this divisiveness. I think every character in Fast 9 represents a degree of that, you know.
We going wild. We on the loose.
Not today.